Hi, this is Rob from DMBAlmanac.com with This Week in Dave Matthews Band History. On July 30th and 31st, 2010, DMB played two standout shows in West Palm Beach, Florida before going on tour break. Government Mule opened the shows and frontman Warren Haynes sat in on number 41 in the first Cortez the Killer in almost 4 years. Laseem Richards also guested on trombone on several songs each night. After several teases on tour and the night one encore, DMB played a full Good Time for the first time since 2004. Night 2, The Last Stop, was played for the first time since 2006 and on a 12-string guitar for the first time. In all, Night 2 contained 7 songs longer than 10 minutes. Only 2 shows have had 8. You can find a list of the 100 longest known song performances at dmbalmanac.com and check in on the Dave solo set list this weekend. Plus, we never stop looking for information on older shows. Follow us on Facebook and Threads to get daily updates with everything that happened that day in the band's history.
Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to The Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of a band that has been making music for over 30 years. If this is your very first time to listen to the Space Between Podcast, welcome. I'm so glad that you have found your way here. So welcome. I'm so happy to be sharing these stories of the fans. We know that, Dave jokingly says he has 35,000 fans, but we all just show up to the same gig. And so I always say, I know that I have at least 35,000 stories to record. Will I be able to do that? No. But let's see how many I can collect. And so I'm on a mission to document this time that we have with Dave Matthews Band. We've had them for so long. A lot of people say that this is the soundtrack of their life. And there have been some really incredible stories that have been shared on this podcast. So I invite you to listen to any of them because each one is completely different because I have a new guest every single episode. And so, of course, this one I do too. We have someone on the show that I'm very excited about. I'm always excited, but I'm excited for this one because I know a little bit about him and I've seen his work on social media and I'm going to let him introduce all of that. But I think that this is going to be somebody that you know. And if you don't know, you should get to know, at least on social media. So if you will, sir, tell us who you are, where in the world are you, and tell us something cool about you.
Hi, Renee. Thanks so much for having me on the podcast. It's wonderful to meet you as well. My name is Jack Saady. I'm a headshot and branding photographer in South Jersey, like 30 minutes or so outside of Philadelphia. I've been a photographer full-time for around 20 some odd years.
Wow.
Long time.
Wow.
And I've been a Dave fan for probably, I hate to say, first time I heard Ants Marching back in 1993 or so. Didn't get to be like a really big fan until a little bit longer than 93, that's for sure. And I'm here to talk about Dave, the band, and a photo project about the stories and the fans of the band.
You said that you heard Ants. And so was that something that was on the radio where you were? Like, is that how you ran across them?
It's the song that I heard on the radio. And I remember thinking, I just like it, love the vibe, the riff, everything about it. And it's like, after that, listening to the rest of the record, I think I was hooked also with a lot of other people.
Yes. Yes. What were you listening to, if you can remember? Like, what was your jam in early 90s?
I've always been a fan of rock, jazz, instrumental music, something that a lot of my friends and family don't get at all. So Dave and the band definitely filled that void for me. But
Mhm.
yeah, I was, since a young age, always a lot of jazz instrumental music.
Yeah. Well, I am a big jazz fan too. I was a jazz fan before Dave Matthews Band, and I can really see how it could flow from one to the other because there's just so many elements of Dave Matthews Band that you can hear that are so jazzy, sometimes more, than others. But so yeah, jazz is like a gateway into so many other types of music. And if you know nothing about Dave Matthews Band, or if you're just now getting to kind of know their music, there's a horn section. And that is one of my go-to, want to be in front of, look at them sections of the band, because there's nothing like horns to me. And I think that
For
all
me too.
stems back to jazz music that I was listening to in college and in high school. And so, while Ants never really stuck out, it was one of those songs that, you heard, you remembered because of the drum beat. You had to kind of really dig in and get away from the radio hits to find what we're talking about. And so, like you said, you took a little break after you heard Ants. When did you kind of run back into them?
It's a funny story because I always wanted. Well, my train of thought was probably, I'm gonna say like 95, 96, just switching the channels on TV, and the band was on PBS, and they were playing Rapunzel. I'd never seen him before. I was like, damn. It's just like the band was just so together, and it's just something like nothing else that I think I had ever heard. So
Mhm.
that's when it's like just really got deeper into the band. I didn't see him probably for the first time. It's probably like I think 2014, 15. My
Yeah,
wife got us tickets, and she isn't a big fan.
that's okay.
So
Not everyone is.
every year now, one of my nieces comes down from New York, and she goes to see the band with me, and she's more than happy to go see the band with me every single year.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad she does that for you. So let's go back to you dug in more. Those words, because of the time that we're talking about in the mid to late 90s, how did you dig in more? Because music wasn't readily available like it is now, where you just push a few buttons and boom, you could go back in time to anything. It was a lot harder to get music at those times. So, what did that look like for you? Were you like part of the Columbia House group where we sent in a penny and then owed them for the rest of our lives? Like, what was your system?
It was getting the CDs back then. And believe
Yeah.
it or not, my wife would as soon as the CDs were released, she was the one that would buy them for me. And
Oh, just to make you happy.
she doesn't even remember it. I told her, you bought me several of them. And she says, did I? And I said, thank you that you did. So
Yeah.
the CDs are all gone now. And well, not even Spotify, the Sirius channel is on all the time.
Yeah. It's a
And
great channel.
it's all been replaced.
Yeah, it is. We live in a very digital age, but it's fun to have moved through technology because this band has definitely moved through many, many, many changes in technology, because we hear, and I'm sure you have heard, or if you haven't heard, guys that are listening to this, in the early 90s and throughout the 90s and maybe even into the early 2000s, as far as CDs go, but in the early 90s, mid 90s, people were recording these because it's always been
Yeah.
allowed to do so at the concerts. Like, the band was cool with people bringing their tape decks in and recording it, or whatever device they were using to record the band live. And what people did with these, of course, you make yourself a copy and then you make a copy for a friend. And it went even as far as people would get someone's name. They would send them a blank envelope with a stamp on it with their address on it. And they just wanted you to send them back a CD. Like there was so much underground ways to get this music. And I find that so clever of the fans to have thought to do that, because I was not part of that. Unfortunately, I wish that I could get my hands on so many of those CDs to hear what people recorded live. And thankfully, there is so many, because of technology, we are able to go back and hear things that we would have never otherwise had access to because of the fans. I point directly to places like the DMB Almanac, and that's a website where they have just continuously built the history of the band, but with that, first recordings, getting those recordings from people that happened to be in a bar in 93 when they did just show up and they recorded the whole thing. And it's cool to have that now, especially as a new fan, or an old fan, it doesn't matter what you are. It's cool to be able to look at the transitions they've been through and the way their music has evolved and changed over 34 years, because it has. What a great time to be able to have so much access to them, all the way back to 1991. It's a great time to be alive.
It's funny because also another story that I have a friend that saw the band at a house party in the 90s. And I know someone else that went to school in Virginia and saw him all the time, at Miller's and stuff like that. And just like, he was just there all the time.
Right.
And it's like, wow, it's like nowadays you just can't even imagine to see him in such an intimate type of setting.
Right.
So,
right. That would be
and then
badass though, right?
a band is still around that is
They're still around.
right.
I often hear people, because I talk about Dave Matthews Band a lot. It's part of me. It's a big part of what I do. And I'm surprised by how many reactions I get where people go, the band from like the 90s, they're still out. Like people don't know. They don't even know that they're still out there and running full force all over the world. It's amazing. And what a rare thing it is to have a band have this type of longevity and still be so successful and still have not only the OG fans, but this is a generational band at this point. Grandparents are taking their grandchildren, and it's such a beautiful thing to be able to see how we're getting to share that music, because it's such a gift. And it's not for everybody. I understand that. But what a gift to introduce somebody to something that they may have never heard otherwise, because we all know Dave Matthews Band is not being played on the radio right now.
Yeah.
You really have to seek it out, seek up. You have to seek up for this stuff, because it's just not out there for you to go find, like at the store or whatever. Maybe sometimes if you're lucky, but you kind of have to know about them. It's like a club that is, I want to say we're an official club, like the fans of Dave Matthews Band. But yeah, I don't think my kids would have ever heard of them had I not introduced them to them. And a lot of adults that were alive and well in the 90s, they just never crossed paths with that sound. I feel like it's our obligation to keep it going, right? Because the music is here forever, for all times. For 100 years from now, the music will still be here. We won't, but the music will be. And so we have to keep sharing that with more and more, so that its life never ends with ours.
And it's funny, dentist that I go to, he always has Sirius radio over his speakers. And I said, and he listens to like the Motown channel. And I said, don't you listen to the Dave Matthews channel? And he says, Dave Matthews had a channel? I didn't think he even had enough songs.
Oh my God.
So he was completely in the dark about that. And I said, you may want to change to channel 30. He never did.
Is that all you said? All you said? Or you didn't like tell him like, well, dude, yeah, they put like 1 million albums out.
There's more than 2 songs out there that he has, but he wasn't aware. He just was like shocked that his own station? How could that possibly be? He has three
Right.
songs tops, right?
It was a teaching moment, and I find
Right.
those moments are happening more frequently. Eh, so first concert, you loved it, and I'm so thankful that your wife bought you those tickets to Camden. You know, Camden's coming up. We're recording on the Wednesday before Camden of 2025. And so I have to ask, are you going this year?
Hey everyone, my name is Jack Saady, photographer and devoted DMB fan. First, huge thanks to Renae and the Space Between podcast for sharing the love and spotlighting my project, Gray Street Stories. I'm photographing fans of the Dave Matthews Band to celebrate the personal stories behind the music, how the songs shaped our lives, helped us heal, or just brought us joy. If DMB has ever been the soundtrack to a moment that mattered, you're exactly who I want to photograph. You can reach me at jack@jacksaady.com or text me at 609-2346309. Let's make your story part of this visual love letter to the band. Right now, I am photographing people in the New Jersey, Pennsylvania area. I look forward to photographing you.
I'm going to be there on Saturday for sure. And for the first time, I'm going to Tailgate Caravan. As we spoke before we started recording, meet the people there. And yeah.
Yeah, you know, what an amazing group of fans. These tailgates, of course, are fans of Dave Matthews Band. But instead of, you know, there are certain groups that instead of just, you know, chilling and like doing the whole traditional tailgating, they are making an effort, and they've been really successful at this effort every year to raise money for mental health awareness. And I believe the
Right.
money goes to NAMI every year. And so, what an amazing thing to do, to use our time to help others, to serve others, to raise money for something that we know needs more funds and research. And we're living in years where we're just starting to talk comfortably about mental health. And so I'm so excited to see fans take initiative and use this time to build not only awareness, but to raise money. And I think that just speaks volumes again about the fans of this band, and why, you know, I won't stop until I can collect all of these stories, because man, there's just people out there doing amazing things all because of a band that they love. And that's just, to me, that's mind boggling. I love it.
Me as well. I mean, and that's how my project came about.
Hey guys, it's Renae, and we're going to listen to the rest of this episode in just a few moments. I wanted to bring an opportunity to you while you were listening and or watching this on YouTube. The Space Between podcast has merch, and if you are looking for a t-shirt or stickers so that you can talk about your episode of the Space Between podcast, or you just feel like it's a cool thing and you want to rep, look at these t-shirts. I've got Comfort Color cream t-shirts. Comfort Colors is a wonderful brand. You will love it. It's a high quality t-shirt. On the back of the shirt, it simply says the Space Between podcast. It has a pig on the back listening to its favorite podcast, which is the Space Between podcast. So guys, if you're interested, hit me up on any of the socials, or the email for the podcast is simply Renae, which is spelled Renae, at the Space Between podcast, dmb.com. They're $25 and they'll be shipped directly to you. But for now, let's get back to the episode. So we have to talk about it. Tell me, what is this project? You know, we mentioned it at the beginning of the recording. And of course, you said you were a photographer. So build us a picture, but I want you to go back to before this was ever a project. And how did you come to the realization that this is what you wanted to do? And then how did you start to do it?
The project started once again, as I mentioned to you earlier, about ordinary people have extraordinary stories. And I came to realize that people with the band listening to the Sirius channel, you know, some of the lead-ins were like, I've seen the band 200 times. There aren't many fans that see a band 200 times. That's an awful lot
Right.
of time to see anybody. I knew there had to be some good stories behind the people wanting to see a band that many times. So I think that's one that intrigued me, but also just something that I do outside of what I normally do for work. As I said, I'm a photographer, but it's something where I get to share stories about the band and their connection to the band, and also photograph people that maybe sometimes a little vulnerable, but we share the stories. And the stories so far of the people that I've photographed are just phenomenal. And they really are very forthcoming. They're very honest about what they've experienced on an emotional level, just on a lot of different levels. And I think
Yes.
that's what I'd like to share about this whole project is putting the stories behind the faces of a band like this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, how did you connect with people? How did you tell people that this is what I wanted to do?
Mainly on Facebook and through the different Dave Facebook groups, putting out a call through my Facebook pages, my Instagram page. And originally, the first person that I photographed, she just by chance, years ago, she was a stylist for all the members of my family. Before she was single at the time, and she would tell me that she would always go see Dave, and she would go down to Florida to go see Dave. She would go cross country to see Dave. And even back then, I thought because I didn't get it just yet,
Right.
that she was the first person I reached out to. And yeah, she helped me spread the word a bit also with all of her friends. And hopefully it spirals even more, but she was an integral part of getting everything started with the project.
I know that you've documented a lot of these stories on your Facebook page and, like you said, on the project page. And I've read through them, I've looked at the pictures, and the pictures are worth so much because you can tell, you can see the passion, you can see the love, you can see what this means to these people who have brought their individual things from home, their memories. How do they know what to bring for you to photograph them?
Well, what I did, because I have to be somewhat organized in my life, I wrote a questionnaire that I sent out to people prior to me photographing them. So I
Uh,
say, if you have ticket stubs, you have t-shirts, you have any bracelets. The one woman, she brought Carter's drumstick that she got. Yeah,
wow.
one person, well, two people actually brought their kids. That one was his son's 8-year-old son's first concert, Madison Square Garden. So he's a future fan or aspiring fan.
Yeah.
So that it was fun to photograph the dad and his boy.
Yeah. Right. So seeing that bond there, and
Yeah,
there we are, talking about generational band. It's a father teaching his kid and sharing these memories and building those bonds
yeah,
together through something that is so easily accessible, and every time our children hear Dave Matthews Band in the future, they're going to think of us, whether they love it or hate it.
right.
They're going to think of us. And so that's a thing that's going to last forever. And I think what you're doing is so incredibly cool. I'm so glad that you're doing that.
Thank
And
you.
guys, if you're interested in reaching out, we are going to attach a commercial through this episode and through every episode that you listen to. So you'll be able to get Jack's information in his commercials. So just listen for that. So, what is it about the band that's kept you this long? Like, why are you going to Camden this weekend when you've seen them there before? Why are you going back, Jack?
No two shows are the same. You know
That's
that.
right.
No, no two shows are the same. I was discussing that with a friend of mine that he loves Rush, and he
Yes.
said when he was able to see Rush, every show's the same. People want to hear the same songs. And with Dave and the band, it's like you're just never the same. It's just never
Right.
the same. We may have songs that are more of our favorites, but you never know what you're going to get. That's for sure.
Exactly. Exactly. Every band has to throw in a couple of songs. Well, I feel like Dave does whatever the fuck he wants to do. But as a general rule, I think that bands across, the board have to throw out at least one hit, meaning for all those people that are coming to this concert for nostalgic reasons, I'm going to give you like one or two songs that are going to blow your mind, and you've already named some of those. But my daughter and my husband just went to a Goo Goo Dolls concert, and she really wanted to hear Iris, which was one of their really big songs. And they waited until the very end to play it because they knew that that was a big song and that people love it and that generations of people love it. And so, I see that when I look at set lists for DMB, just that, there's always going to be one or two tracks that people have heard on the radio or just because it was in a movie or whatever, but it's those deep tracks. Let's talk about those. What I'm speaking of when I say deep tracks, it's those songs that either they never play or the songs that they barely play or the songs that never made it to any studio album and can just be found on a certain few live albums that people have recorded. It's the hunt. It's the chase for those songs because we know that their catalog is ginormous. I want to know, and I could do this through the help of the almanac, and I know that. I just want to know what's the number of songs that they have in their catalog, subtracting any covers at all, just original work. How many songs are in your catalog? I think of stuff. It keeps me up at night, to be honest, Jack. I'm like, how many songs is it? How many songs could it be? What would be your guess? Like just your best educated guess? And honestly, I don't even know that I could ask that of myself. I don't even know where to begin.
I think it's just non-covers. I think it's like close to 400.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I saw that someplace. Now, don't quote me or anything.
No. I mean, you're on a
podcast,
podcast, but like no quotes here.
That's
Wow. I just, that is a lot of songs.
It's a lot of songs.
Hard to find another band that has a catalog even half of that size. So there's so many reasons to keep going back. Yes, it is the chase. Like you said, it's that no show is ever the same. Even if they sang, the same set list 2 nights in a row, it wouldn't sound the same because we know that like they just go off and they do these improvisations. And we love that because we know that that's where passion kicks in and their love for the instrument that they're playing. If you could, what's a deep track? And I'll go first so that you can think about it. What's a deep track that you just want to hear and like you're okay with not hearing it because if you're like me, like I want Dave to play what he wants to play. I never will argue with what he wants. But I'd really like to hear Crazy Easy. I'd really like to hear it live and for real, not live on a recorded CD. I've heard that like thousands of times because that's all I can get. What is something that comes to mind that you're like, will this ever happen in my lifetime?
Put me on a spot.
I did. And it's okay to not have an answer. There's 400 songs.
Right. My question to you is there a song that you don't like to hear?
What's up, y'all? This is David with the Dave Matthews Tribute Band, also known as the DMTB, and I'm here to tell you about our 2025 Sun's Embrace Summer Tour, which is happening now up and down the East Coast. If you've never heard of us, we're a tribute to DMB focusing on the old, original style of the music, featuring a violin, saxophone, sometimes some keyboards, and sticking to those 90s, early 2000s arrangements of the songs to help transport the listener back to a nostalgic time of tape trading and all kinds of good stuff when Dave was emerging out of Charlottesville in the early 90s. So if that sounds like your vibe, we hope to see you at one of our shows, and you can check out our tour dates at thedmtb.com/tour or by checking out our socials by searching the DMTB. We'll see you on the road.
No. And I'm very sure that's why I said it that fast. No. And I've thought about that because that's just the things I think about. And I know that that's a really popular thing to talk about is, what could you leave out? What could you do without not hearing any longer and blah, blah, blah. And I will agree that there are songs that I love more than others, but there are no songs that I would ever discard or take out of their catalog simply for the fact that they wrote it, they loved it enough to make it part of their catalog. And if they want to sing it, by damn, they should sing it. I am in love with whatever. Like I always say, sing the phone book. I don't care what you sing, just sing to me because you're so good at it and play your instruments. You're so good at it. So the answer is no, there's nothing that I don't want to hear.
I feel the same way. I think that there's not any single song that I say, oh my God, I hate that song. Others that I may like a lot more, but I don't think there's any song that my family says, when a song comes on, they say, oh, I like that song. My family will say, you like all the songs. And it's kind of true. I do. Some I like more than others, but there's nothing I would ever say I'm turning it off. And I can't say that about other bands. There's some bands that like a song comes on, it's like, well, I don't want to hear that.
I have a whole band that when they come on, and I will not say the band, but when they like come on anywhere, I'm like, click, no. I mean, there's just, and that's okay. And that just, again, like not everybody loves Dave Matthews Band. There are bands we all don't like click with, or we don't vibe with, we don't enjoy it. Well, for whatever reason, it can just be as simple as like, I just don't really like that guy's voice or that girl's voice or whatever. Like, and that's okay. That's the beautiful thing about music. There's so many, just so much music in the world, whether you go back in time, or you just are listening to current, music that came out in 2024, 2025. There's just so much. And so it would be hard for me to believe that someone couldn't ever identify a sound that they didn't enjoy out of the whole universe. It would just be very hard for me to believe that. And I know that some people say they don't like music. They don't listen to music. And that's cool if that works for you. But
I can't imagine.
I can't imagine that scenario. No, but I know that there are people that way. And I realize that. And so I know that we especially sound a little bit insane for the level of passion that we have. But it can't be weird. I mean, it can be whatever people think it is. But for me, I just think that it's passion. It's love for the sound. And that's it. I don't think that we're in a cult. I don't think that, I don't think any of those negative things that people throw out. I just think that they've done a really good job for 34 years of making really bomb ass music and being really cool people. And
you said it all for me as well.
I got to stop talking, right? I'm saying it all.
It's literally everything that I feel about it. It's all true.
Yeah, so, it is. It is.
You don't find me quiet very often, but you said it very well. Better than I could, that's for sure.
I've just thought so much about it. It's a healthy thing that I'm open with sharing to other people. And so there's just so many mental health benefits to this. And when your mental health is doing really good, you just feel better. And this music has the ability to make me feel different. And, I know a lot of people feel that same way. And I don't think that's crazy. I don't. I think that that's scientifically proven medicine. I do. And that's why I have this show, is so that we can talk about those scenarios, because no one comes on the show and just says, yeah, I just like this band. and that's the end. Like
Right.
it doesn't go that way. There's always a reason, and there's always connections, and it goes in every direction. It's people in every direction, right? I just love collecting these stories. I love that you are also doing the same thing, collecting stories. And I'm excited. I'm just so excited to find somebody that is doing, like I call it, it's the good work, right? It's good work.
Well, thank you.
It's for the greater good. It's a passion project. And, this will live on forever now because of you on people's walls and in people's memories.
Well, I am in the South Jersey, Philadelphia area. And at this point, my outreach is limited to people that are traveling to me. So my thought, as I'm in the process of getting a website started with the photographs and the people's stories, but I was thinking, work with me on this one, just to collect stories and have a separate part of the website of just stories that people are not able to, they can't get to me or I can't get to them. If things go well, I would like to travel to different cities to photograph people. I mean,
Yeah,
part
of
of my
course.
thought was to go, not necessarily this year, but sometime go to the Gorge and set up some type of photo booth ahead of time. And I know I would have a lot of takers,
Oh gosh,
but
yes.
to try and gather people and the stories prior to going out there, even if it's here in, the Camden, Philly area, to do that ahead of time. But I really think the stories that I've gathered so far, and I'll share that with you once the website goes live, they're just wonderful. I mean, they really are. Even if it had nothing to do with the band, it's just like how someone could feel passionate about something. And it's just the stories on how it makes them feel, how it makes their kids feel, the connection with a father and his son, an 8-year-old boy. I don't think there's a lot of 8-year-old boys that would have that type of connection with their father if it wasn't for something as strong as this. So
Right. I agree. I
for me,
agree.
it's all about the story and putting the
It is.
face to the story.
Thank you so much for doing that. Because this side of it, we're getting the stories, but it's kind of a faceless story. Unless you're watching this on YouTube, which if you're listening to this and you didn't know that you could actually watch this, you can just go to YouTube. It's under the Space Between podcast, and most of my episodes are there. So Jack, first, I want to thank you so much for being willing to be on this show. It does take people, as you know, to come forward and offer to tell their story. This has been such a delay, and I'm so excited that for the things that you are doing. And I know that the listeners of this
Thank you.
podcast will be really interested. So
I'll share a website link of it's going to be dmbphotoproject.com once it's live, but I'll share that with you and your listeners when everything is set.
perfect. Yes, we'll update the commercial that's rolling through each podcast now to let you know that the website is live. So, of course, that means you just got to keep coming back for more. Each episode is a different fan of Dave Matthews Band to share their story, whatever that looks like. We're interested in knowing more and documenting this time because no one wants to be reminded, but I will remind you to cherish this time, to love this time, because it will not be part of your life forever. We're all getting older. Like it's just, it's something that we need to cherish and document. And that's exactly what, I am doing. And I know that Jack is doing as well.
And I love the fact that you and I have now some people in common with your
Yes.
podcast and my project. So it's like everyone will start being one really big family.
Yes, and I love it so much.
Me
It's just
too.
we keep extending our community,
Yes.
and that makes me really happy. I don't think you can ever know enough people. There's no end in sight to the amount of people I want to talk to about this. Each story gets me fired up in a different way. And, I've loved your story because I really understand what you're trying to do. And I'm just so thankful that there are other people alongside of me in the world that are thinking the same thing that I am thinking. It's just, we've got to document this. It's our only way back, right? Photography and video, all these things. It's the only way back to the past, because we can't get there unless we document it. And so, Jack, thank you so much for being on the show. If you're interested in sharing your Dave journey, like we've said, it's super easy. Reach out to me on any of the socials: Facebook, The Space Between Podcast; Instagram is The Space Between _POD. TikTok is The Space Between Podcast. And my email is very easy now. It's Renae, which is RENAE, at The Space Between Podcast, DMB.com. And that should not be hard to remember. So send me a message if you're interested in being on the show, or if you just have more questions, that's cool too. I know it's hard to come on a podcast and talk to a stranger, but Jack did it. Jack did it, and so many before Jack. So, Jack, thank you so much. And guys, until the next episode, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.
Thanks a lot, Renae.